Okay, so good evening, everyone, again, just because we're recording now. We're going to talk today about this very interesting subject here. So, on Spiritism, one of the principles of Spiritism is that everybody is a spirit, right? According to the spirits. What are saying? Yeah, the spirits, they talk to us and they came and they brought us some information, some ideas. And I don't want to be the biggest spoiler, but is there anybody here that doesn't recognize this picture here? This is from a movie, right? Sixth Sense. One of, the greatest movie that uh, touches this subject here on spiritism that, we know that can happen. So we're going to develop on this idea a little bit. Let me just quickly introduce me for people who are not familiar, so you're going to understand why I'm going to show the things that I'm going to show today. My name is Andre Luis, and here's a hint. If you know anyone with the name Andre Luis, especially if the Luis ends in a Z, probably their parents were spiritists. Why? Because that's the spiritual author of a series of books by Chico Xavier. So a lot of people that were born in the 60s and 70s named Andre Luis is because their parents, oh, I'm gonna put the name. So yes, my parents were spiritists. So were their parents. And so were my great grandmother. So like I'm a fourth generation spiritist in my family. If you look at my family, you're gonna say, I can't believe that Andre belongs to this family. That's so different in a lot of things. But on this, yeah, we always got along pretty well. I'm saying that because I grew up in an environment where talking about spirits was normal. Where the same way as we drink water or whatever, my mom would say, no, no, don't drink this brings bad fluids. And that made sense because we understood on an early age. Or she would kind of say, oh, no, don't bring our friends today because today we have work here. And by work means we'll have a spiritual session in my house. Usually the beginning was on my grandma's house. As she got older, we transferred to my house. So I grew up several times with spiritist meetings. And by spiritist meetings, it means, hello, guys. Good evening. And by that, I mean, could be either a study of the gospel, we study a spiritist book, or what the spiritist centers call a mediumistic meeting. Mediumistic, I won't be able to say the word.
We got it.
Okay, a meeting that involves mediums is usually to communicate with the spirits. Okay, and there are several different spiritist centers that use that technique for different reasons. So Allan Kardec, on the Mediums book, explained the different type of mediums that are out there and the different type of work that the mediums are supposed to be doing. So there are spiritist groups that they're specialized in these obsessions. So there are spirits that they are obsessing about either other spirits or other incarnated people. So certain spiritist centers, they're prepared to help those spirits, at least free those that are there. And there are other groups, and that's going to be the main theme of this evening here, that they talk to spirits that they didn't know they died. Oh, we're talking about, we're going to talk a lot about that, right? So what do you think that happens when you die? Is it it? We open our eyes and then, Madam Death comes to us, surprise, you're dead. Guess what? You're here now. Not necessarily, right? So what we're going to talk here is based a lot in specific questions of the Spiritist book, of the Spirit's book. So on the Spirit's book, the first thing that is one of the earliest questions, is question 85. The question is, which of the two, the spiritual world or the physical world, is the principal one in order of things? So when we talk about spiritual world and physical world, we're talking about this is the physical world. So this is matter. This is a 3D environment that we can touch, we can feel. Our senses, we see a specific spectrum of colors, that frequency, that are their colors. We just don't see them. Our eyes only see a part of it. Same thing with sounds, our ears only hear certain number of frequencies because we're in the physical world. But according to the spirits, this is temporary. because the actual world that we live in, that's the spiritual world. So the answer to this question is the spiritual world is actually the main one. That's the principal one because it's pre-existent and survives everything else. So this planet started, and this planet eventually, in I don't know how many trillion of years, may not even exist anymore. But the spiritual world, that will always exist. Okay? It started, but it will always exist. So what are we doing here? According to Spiritism, what we're doing here is just temporary. We had the opportunity to be born in this planet according to our level of evolution, to learn certain lessons, to pay certain debts, to go through some trials to see if we learn the lessons. So we are given the opportunity to progress in our lives, right? But that's only temporary. Okay? So Earth is a temporary stage. So our true home, what I'm saying here, so then I have the question 149, and that's we're starting to see a little bit what we're going to be talking this evening. So what happens to the soul at the time of the death? I don't know. We cannot. No one can tell here unless we ask the spirits. Why? Do you know of anyone that died and came back to tell you? No, we know people of near-death experiences. They come and they tell us stories, things about that, very interesting. But someone that actually died and came back and told us how it was, like Lazarus or Jesus, we never met them. We only know what people talked about them or wrote about them, right? So in this case, we ask the spirits. So Allan Kardec put together the question, ask the spirits, what happened to the soul at the time of death? Let's remember, the spirits teach us that we have three bodies. So this is our physical body. We have the spirit, and we have what the spirits told us is called the perispirit, or we may call the astral body, or the spirit body, spiritual body, which is the one that gives the shape of and the connection between the physical body and the spirit. So the answer is the time that the body dies, the soul becomes a spirit again, meaning it returns to the spiritual world that it had briefly left. So those people that live 100 years, they're also considered that they only briefly left the spiritual world. And you're going to see how time runs different there. And then a little bit ahead, we have this question here, 163. So does the soul immediately regain self-consciousness upon leaving the body? Not immediately. It is in a state of confusion. And that you explain a lot of we're going to see here. So this means that when we die, not necessarily we feel anything or we understand that we are dead. I don't remember the last time that I died because after I was born again, I forgot a lot of things, right? We all did. Thank God, literally, right? So the spirits are telling us here, not immediately. It's a state of confusion. Okay, it's expected. You just died, right? So, but we can learn with that experience. We can learn things that we can do on this life here as we understand why we are going through here. As we understand that the actual life is the spiritual life. It's going to help us live a better life here. So when you are on, let's say, third grade, you go to school because you have to go to school. You don't understand exactly why you have to go to school, right? So that's pretty much okay. You're going to go to school because eventually you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a fireman, you're going to be an astronaut, But no, you have to go to school only to do whatever the teacher tells you to do. As we grow to the point that we decide to go to college, then we decide to study. We decide to learn. Right now, we are on that stage that we have to go to the school, this planet. So we don't exactly understand what we are doing here, but the spirits, they give us some hints on why we are here. So that's why you're always a little bit confused when we finish the year, that grade. Okay, what do I do now? Okay, we're going to go to the summer vacation. That's the time that you spend on the spiritual road, but then you have to come back to learn more. If we pass the year, right? If you didn't flunk any math or chemistry. So then we ask the spirits here, okay, explain a little bit about the separation of the soul from the body. Is it painful? So let's remember this movie here. It was very interesting. So Bruce Willis' character, the Sixth Sense. So Bruce Willis' character was attacked, right? And then he was shot. But on the movie,
Vocês têm sentido esse filme.
okay,
Nossa, super famoso.
Okay.
Super famoso.
so lucky you, because now you can watch it. Lucky you, so now you can watch it. Because it's a fantastic movie, you know, especially if you're spiritist. So people from home, you're gonna see there's a person here that never watched Sixth Sense, so she's lucky because she can watch it and go through all the what? Anyway, anyway, so Bruce Willis' character is shot, and he starts running after the guy who shot him, right? So in the movie we have that. So here's the question: separation of the soul from the body, is it painful? And the answer is no. The body often suffers more during life than at death, because the soul is usually unaware of what's occurring to the body at death. So if we are afraid of death, we are afraid of what? What comes after? Or are we afraid of the pain of dying or the way we're gonna die? Because the spirits, they tell us the actual transition, that isn't painful. Or like to this sense of, you know, physical pain. Oh, but we're gonna miss my family, I'm gonna miss that part. Yes, it's gonna be painful. At least for a little bit, but you're gonna understand it more. But for now, what we have here is this. No, the body often suffers way more during life than on the moment that we die. Come on, next slide, please. There you go. So here comes the separation of the body. So this confusion is completely dependent on specific features and the type of death. In case of violent death, suicide, torture, accident, stroke, injuries, and even so, the spirit is shocked and does not believe that is dead. As we're gonna see on some examples that we're gonna talk about here. So in case of violent death, you know, accidents, things like that, again, the person was suffering way more before the death than during death, right? So those spirits that go through the experience several times stubbornly maintains the contrary and views the body that has left as something separate from itself. In other words, they remain among the ones that they loved or hated, in case of obsession. Because here's the thing, according to the spirits, we've got here some people that we see, we are spirits incarnated, and there are a bunch of discarnated spirits everywhere that, thank God, we don't see. Otherwise, it would be weird, you know, going to the bathroom and knowing that there are people, you know, seeing what we do in the bathroom, right? No, we don't see them. Doesn't mean that they are there. I don't know. Hopefully not. But the spirits say that they are everywhere. There are about what 6 or 7 discarnated spirits for each incarnated spirit here on Earth. I mean, in the crust, you know, of Earth, plus all the other colonies and everything around the planet, right? So yeah, there's spirits everywhere. A lot of those, honestly, they don't even know that they are no longer incarnated. Why? Because they go through this experience of sudden death or an accident or something like that, and they keep thinking that, well, I'm still here. Again, this is according to what the spirits are telling us. Okay, I don't have any memory of going through all this. So there are certain spiritist centers. The country that has the most spiritist center in the world is Brazil. For some reason, Jesus decided, okay, I'm gonna make this country here the land of the gospel. And then we thought, oh, great, you know, the country or the land of the gospel. Yeah, which means you guys gonna suffer because who needs actual doctor or the sequence? So all the spirits are gonna be born there. That means that they gotta go through trials to actually prove that they learned the lessons of the gospel, right? So Brazil was the perfect place for spiritualism to flourish. He had already a population very spiritual, that came from Portugal. Portugal was the most Catholic country in Europe, even more than Italy. He was brought all the people from Africa, and in Africa they already had all their animistic and all their religions, where still to the day is normal to communicate with their past loved ones, with their ancestors. They already had that. So you bring those, like the Portuguese, you bring those people from Africa, plus the natives here that always had this contact with nature. And they always also contacted the loved ones that lived before, right? Anyway, Brazil, you mix all of those. The Spiritism comes from France, and then it found a great place to grow. And according to the lessons that we learned from Allan Kardec, the Spiritist Center started being created. On the Spirit Center, you have study of the doctrine, you have talks like this one, you have courses to learn more about Spiritism, and also the Spiritist meetings, where we're going to be communicating. There's going to be a channel to communicate between the incarnator world and this discarnator world. With which finality? It has to be useful. You cannot just talk to a spirit and say, do you think I'm going to win the lottery? Or do you think that I should call this person on a date? No. If you're not serious, you're not going to get a serious spirit answering you. Because talking to spirits wasn't created by Spiritism. That always existed. Spiritism only created a method to make that in a way that is productive. Okay? All right. So, there is, in Brazil, I used to work in actually two Spiritist centers. One that I mentioned to you guys at the beginning of the meeting that was founded by my family, right? And the stories that I'm going to share here, they come from the Spiritist Center from my family. When I'm there, I work there as well. And what's my role there? So there's a medium. The medium will be receiving the messages from the spirit. I talk to that spirit, so I'm the one that's going through the dialogue, right? The idea of that specific Spiritist center is to explain to spirits that died that they're dead. But why is that? The Spiritist book, they told us a lot of those spirits, they don't even realize that they're dead because they didn't go through any pain, but they're usually very confused. And those are the stories that I'm going to share with you guys. It's going to be 4 stories, okay, with 4 different, completely different backgrounds, 4 different lives, and 4 different lessons that we can learn with them, okay? So the first case is this one here. So for that, I'm going to read a little bit my notes. So if you see me reading here, it's because of that. All right, so we start the meeting. We have an opening prayer. We receive a message from the mentor, always a very encouraging message, And then we say, okay, you guys ready? I'm going to bring the first spirit. When we say bring the first spirit, doesn't necessarily always mean that there is a spirit walking that walks to our room and starts talking. Because a lot of what happens on the other side is here in the mind. So the mindset that you have is what you see, is what you're going to believe that's the truth. As you're going to see, a lot of confusion can happen with that. So we are there, and the mentor comes and says, okay, I'm going to bring the first spirit now. And the spirit comes, and it starts like this. Okay, my name is Kyle. It's good that Kyle is a name that works both in Portuguese and in English with completely different spelling, right? Yeah, my name is Kyle. But, people know me as Estrela d'Alva or Dalva Star. And they're like, okay, tell me a little bit more about yourself. Well, I'm a drag queen. Okay, good. All right, so how are you feeling? Okay. Tell me a little bit more, like why did you come here? Yeah, I've never been here before, and I had no idea how I ended up here. Remember, when I'm talking to this person, I have to understand that that person is confused. That person was brought there usually by someone that they don't know, that they never met. So we have to try to make them feel welcome, to feel comfortable. So you're never going to ask hard questions, not in the beginning, until the person feels that they can trust us. So I go with questions like, okay, tell me a little bit about yourself. how you ended up here. So they say, I don't know how I ended up here. Okay, so I'm going to read about yourself. Well, I have AIDS. And my body is slowly, the translation I got here, wasting away. But now I start an experimental treatment, and I think I'm gonna have a few years with this experimental treatment. So, I wish I could see my mother before I die. That's what the spirit said. Okay, you tell me this. How do I explain to this spirit that the treatment kind of
You do them work.
yeah, right?
Yes.
And I was like, okay. And how is this treatment going? What do you feel about it? He said, well, I'm a part of a group and I feel scared. I feel very scared. So when someone's scared next to you, you don't try to scare them even more. Telling them, okay, you're a ghost. Right? So we keep trying to tell them to, breathe and let's keep talking. Okay. So I went to them and said, you know what? The treatment's going well. I'm not saying that the experiment is going well. I said the treatment's going well because I believe you're feeling better now than you were before. Right? And then he said, he asked me, what's her name? And that's when several times I used this trick that I have. I said, my name is Andre Luis. I don't say everybody knows me here, knows me by Andre, right? So that's the only place where I identify myself as Andre Luis. Why? You're gonna see here. His answer was like that name is funny. It's not unfamiliar to me. There were some books at home, and the author of which had the same name as yours, Andre Luis. I always do that because if on that spirit there was ever any spiritist link, it's gonna ring a bell. I even used that trick once with a person that was living in the streets, a homeless guy that he came asking for help and everything. I helped talking back in Brazil, like 30-something years ago. And then he asked my name. And I said, oh, okay, my name is Andre Luis. As I was walking away, he said, Andre Luis, can you come back a little bit? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, I already read the Spirit's book, The Gospel According to the Spiritism. I studied the doctrine, but I'm still here. So then we changed a little bit the way we were talking. And he started telling me a lot more about his life. Once he saw that, the reason that was spiritist. Anyway, back to Kyle or Dalva that was here, right? So he said all these things. And then he said, okay, the first time he dressed up as a drag queen, he was 16 or she was 16 years old. And that's when his father kicked him out of the house and he needed to survive. So he started selling or dealing his body, right? That was the only way he found to make some money to pay. So he moved to the city called Vitória, state of Espírito Santo, and never went back. Then I asked, okay, did you have any of Andre Luis' books with you? No, I never read them. So, but I believe that they belong to my mom. I said, okay, did you ever talk to your mom after that? She said, no, I never do that. I only knew from my aunt that my mom was still very upset. And then I went to him, okay, did you hear that from your mom? No, my aunt said that. Okay, so you didn't hear that from your mom. You cannot believe that actually a mother would not want to talk to their kid anymore. Why are you saying that? I said, well, because whatever you are doing, the mother is the type of love that survives absolutely everything. The father, you still have to learn. The mother, yes, is way more capable of understanding what goes through anybody's heart or anybody's mind. And that's when I went to Kai and said, okay, let's talk a little bit. I'm gonna make you a little bit more confused, but then you're gonna understand what's going on with you. He said, oh yeah, please, read it on. All right, so what happened with the treatment is that the treatment worked. However, your body didn't survive the treatment. What happened to your physical body is that it expired. It didn't survive because of all the issues that came with your illness, but you see that you're talking to me, which means that you're still alive. What is still alive is your spirit. And you didn't realize this yet because God is so good that God made this transition to you so transparent and so peaceful that you didn't even realize that your body already died. See how good God is? And then he was like silent for a little bit. And that's when I say, okay, what are they going to say now? Who comes after that? His mom. Why? Because when I was talking to him about his mother and saying that the motherly love overcomes everything, his mind started connecting to his mother. And later, his mother explained to us what happened was the mother was trying to communicate with him on the spiritual road because the mother had already died, but he couldn't see her. He couldn't hear her. Why? They were in completely different frequencies of vibrations. He was still vibrating as an incarnated spirit, as we. So he could see people that are incarnated. But because he thought that he was still incarnated, he wasn't ready to see people who discarnated. And his mom was already discarnated. So his mother tried to help him. He wouldn't even realize that she was around. So that's one of the jobs that Spiritist centers they do. So they try to bring these spirits, inspire these spirits to come. Some of them are spirits that can come and bring them. Some are only inspired and they end up on our Spiritist center. And once I made him think about his mother and explain to him what went through him, his mindset changed, his vibration changed. He looked and he could see his mother. It was right there waiting for him. So his mother came and said, okay, I take it from here. And he said, okay, so thank you. And feel free to, come again and let us know how you guys are doing there. So that was the first one. So that's a big lesson. Everybody, no matter if you're black, white, gay, straight, or whatever, we all gonna go through the same things. We all live red. We all have our own challenges, right? And we all gonna go the spiritual road. We're all incarnated people going through trials, going through chances to pay our debts, and we all gonna die. We're all gonna discarnate and gonna go back to the spiritual road. The way we live our life will make a big difference on how we're gonna live the life after this one. Okay? So I'm gonna go to the second case that was also very interesting here. Let me just drink a little bit of water. You guys have no idea how fun it is when you are on a mediumistic meeting and a guy that is Portuguese comes to talk to us with the Portuguese accent, talking to us, and the Portuguese way of speaking, right? As I mentioned earlier, Portugal is one of the most Catholic countries in the world. And by that, I say, here's the number of the population there, and the percentage of that population that identify themselves as Catholic is bigger than anybody else. Okay, only Vatican is bigger than Portugal, but it's it's not fair to compare the number of people. All right, so I'm there. Again, we have the opening, the prayer. Okay, gonna bring the spirit, and here comes the spirit. Oh, good afternoon. My name is I'm Professor Alcides. Okay, Alcides. Welcome. Welcome here. Good evening. I'm Andre, Luis. Let's see if anything happens, but yeah. And welcome. Let's talk a little bit. How are you doing? And then he said, well, to tell you the truth, I barely know what's going on with me. And I was like, really? Can you tell me a little bit more what's going on? He said, well, I'm feeling confused about what's going on inside of me. I can barely find the words. I said, well, it makes sense. You're confused. So how are you going to find the words if you're confused, right? Yeah, it seems to me that I've been feeling dizzy for some time now and even fainting. Okay, so you probably have some health issues. Did you look for treatment or Anything that's going on? I said, well, I think, let me see here. My my uh, uh, my wife, she has been complaining that I've been having hallucinations, seeing dead relatives, and telling them that they're and telling her or the wife that they're alive. No, no, actually, it's the other way around. His wife was telling him that she's been seeing relatives that already passed away, and those relatives are telling her that they are alive. And he was like, I think that she's crazy, you know? And then I was like, okay, what do you feel about that? He said, well, believe my young friend, sometimes I think that I'm waking up from a fainting spell. I don't know what's going on with me. So as you can see, he was very confused. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, explain to me a little bit why it would be so absurd for you if she's saying what she's saying is right, that she sees those dead people that, what's going on? And he said, are you joking with me? Are you mocking me? Because, you know, that doesn't exist. I said, okay, what happens after we die? He said, heaven or hell? I was like, okay, explain to me, what's your religion? I'm Catholic, like you. And then I remember one of the lessons that I learned before. Several times, those spirits that are brought to us, their mental state, like, again, it's not because we died, we're no longer Catholic or Palmeirense or whatever, or we stop liking chocolate. No, we don't even realize that we died, right? We are still the very same person. So, uh, that guy was still Catholic. So he asked me, or I asked him, okay, what's your religion? He said, I'm Catholic, like you. Several times what happens when those spirits are brought, they think that they are being brought to talk to a priest or someone, that they respect, spiritually speaking. So I needed to pretend that I was Catholic too. So he would trust me in my words, right? So I said, oh, yeah, sure. So I know that you're scared. And they say, yeah, how do you know that? I said, well, because of the word that you're saying. And he asked, do you think I'm going crazy? No, I said, no, 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 not at all. I'm not going crazy at all. I'm going to help you, you know? So he said, yeah, I believe I'm going completely mad. And I said, no, okay, let's talk a little bit. What is going on? Okay. How long have you been feeling like this? Uh, I don't know, for quite some time now. Okay. Try to connect the dots. When was the last time that you were home taking a shower? Silence. When was the last time that you had a meal? Silence. See for how long you've been feeling confused, feeling that you woke up on a spell, that you're seeing things that you're not supposed to see. You've never been through this before. No, I've never been through this before. Yes. And what I'm going to tell you now is a lot of things changed in your life. A lot of things changed for you. I understand that you believe that after we die is heaven or hell. But that was the easiest way that Jesus had to teach us to be good people. The reality is a little bit more complicated than that. That's why Jesus said, there are several houses, several mansions in my Father's house. What happened here is your body was going through all those things. But because you are no longer with that body and you didn't understand, you didn't realize that, you're having all these confusions because you're trying to act with your body, but your body already died and you didn't. As you can see, you're here. You're like, no, that doesn't make sense. Otherwise, my Maria would be here with me. And I told you, okay, what if your Maria is actually trying to reach you? However, she can't because you're not allowing her. How am I not allowing her? It's very simple. You don't believe that she could communicate with you because she passed before you did. Uh, and then silence. All right, so I'm going to ask you a favor now. You're going to close your eyes and you're going to think about your Maria. Now, just her face. Think of her with all the love that you have. You did? Okay, now you're going to slowly open your eyes. You're going to look around you. Let me explain something to you guys. I didn't see any Maria. I have no idea if she was there or not. Was taking a bath, or usually what we understand, we are being inspired. Our intuition or the spirit are telling us, you know, helping us what to say. Sure enough, crickets for a little bit, and then, as it happened on the Spirit Center, Maria comes and said, I'm immensely grateful for you guys. I already have my Portuguese here. The word that she used was that finally I have this turrão, which means stubborn, here with me. But it was interesting the way he was speaking like as an actual Portuguese person, like with a lot of Portuguese words. I translated here to English, so we don't have no saying, but it was very interesting. So the way we learn here, so our spirits immediately surrounded by the people that they knew on earth. That's the question number 160 on the Spirit's book. And the answer was yes, according to the degree of affection they had for them and vice versa. Those spirits, they often come to them upon their return to the spiritual road and help them shed material ties. If they're prepared for that, if the person is way too tied to the material road, they're not going to realize that that's what's going on. All right. So let's see another challenging one. So this believed in something and believed very specifically on the Catholic religion, right? So let's go to the next one. Oops, too much. Here. All right. So then comes another person. Okay, the person name starts like this. It's pitch black in here. Is anyone there? I said, yeah. Can you hear me? And the answer was, too far away. Can you see me? And I said, nope. I won't lie. No, I cannot. I said, okay, what is this? I said, well, I'm trying to help you. Can you come here? And she said, but I'm trapped in this car. Just like one of the questions that we read in the beginning here, when people die suddenly or on accidents, several times their state of mind stays on the accident place, right? So this person here said that she was still trapped in the car. And said, okay, let me help. And she said, but my leg is trapped. You can't see it. Can't you see it? It hurts so much. If I pull, it's gonna hurt more. I said, okay, let me call you by your name. What's your name? She said, Clarissa. Okay. Are you feeling okay? No, I'm very scared. All right, so let me see if I can help you. Okay. We are going to start now taking you away from the car. I'm not doing anything. I'm changing her mental state. I'm trying to, because she's not there anymore. She's actually here on the Spiritist Center. But her mind still thinks that she's there, stuck in the car. Right? So then I start talking to her. Okay, we are now, see, we are taking her leg slowly. We're already treating her leg. We put a tourniquet on it. Okay, slowly come this way. We're coming. And then she was like, why can't I see anything? My God, have I gone blind? I said, no. It's just that it's too much smoke around here. I didn't know there was enough, but that's the best explanation I could come up with. It's just too much smoke. That's why I can't see anything. And then she asked me, is this hand that I'm holding, is this yours? And I said, no, not my hand. You can only hear my voice, but someone is already helping you out, right? And then she said, okay, now I can see a fog and it's raining. Okay, it wasn't raining in our place, but she was with that feeling still from the moment of the accident. And then I was like, okay, so let me tell a little bit what happened on the accident. I want you to come here to help me. So have a seat here. We're gonna start treating you. And as the dialogue evolved, at one point I started explaining to her what actually happened. During the accident was too violent for you, and your body didn't survive the accident. And it's like, yeah, but I'm still walking. Can't you see? Are you blind or stupid? And that was the first time I was offended by a spirit. And so no, neither one of them. I'm just trying to help you, right? And then I tried to explain it again. He said, no, I already heard, I don't think I even want to be here anymore. They're like, okay, think about the way you were 5 minutes ago and how you are now. Don't you think that something is different? Because you're no longer at the accident place. You're no longer with your leg injured. Actually, you're perfectly fine now. And that's when okay, I'm gonna put you to a test. If my father shows up here, her father already died before, I'll believe you. If it's him, I'll believe in you. Okay? So, okay. Uh, if here, if my father's not here, you just get out of here, okay? But she told me she, beat it if her father isn't there. And I was like, I have no idea if her father's there or not. But again, the intuition kept coming. And I was like, okay, let's do that. So the way that you have to call your father is gonna be this. Come with me. Close your eyes. And now you're gonna think about your father, but you're gonna think with love. You're gonna think that your father is already here, but with your eyes closed. We do that for some time, and I say, okay, now you slowly open your eyes because there's gonna be too much light. You were in the dark, you were with the fog. And then she's, starts like a slowly, and then a little bit, and then silence. After silence, comes here, Andre, I'm here with my daughter, my dear, and I apologize on her behalf. And then I said, okay, it works. And then said, that's fine. She was very confused. I said, no, she wants to apologize herself. And the daughter comes again and said, Andre, do you forgive me? I said, of course, but there's nothing to be forgiven. So she said, it's all crazy to me. My father, who would have thought that I could find my father again? I said, well, no one dies, and he came here to help you. And he said, yeah, it was him, but me, Miss Stubbornness, the way he used to call me, couldn't believe it was him, right? And I said, yeah, but I understand. Do you have any religion? She said, I'm an atheist. That's why I couldn't believe that there could be nothing after that. I said, oh, okay, that's interesting that you're an atheist. And she said, okay, I need to spread the good news to my atheist friends. And then I told her, okay, hold on. First, understand where you are, spend some time with your father. They're gonna have their chance too. But if you go back and try to talk to them, they're not gonna believe that you're talking to them. Just like you wouldn't believe, so let them take their time. You just had your chance now, so go enjoy some time with your father that you haven't seen in a while. She said, yeah, I'm gonna be patient with them. And his friends. Okay. We're basically okay. So, we always close with a prayer and off she went. Right? So far we had a drag queen, a Catholic Portuguese professor, and an atheist lady. And now my favorite one, because this was very interesting. You guys already saw because on my clip, I didn't even translate this to English. Like a Spiritist Center president. So Presidência Espírita. That was the third time that I had to talk to a Spiritist person, but this time was to the president of the Spiritist Center. So, it all starts like this. We are there, ready, and then very polite person comes, good evening. Said, yeah, good evening. How can I help you? He said, yeah, no, I asked you, how can I help you? And I was like, okay. Yeah, please, can you tell me your name? He said, yes, I'm Antenor Chimedeiros, at your service. And I was like, yeah, I'm a little confused here. So I needed to understand the role I had to play. I had to be the one trying to be helped so I could then, switch the roles. I was like, yeah, I'm a little bit confused. And he said, yeah, I understand, my dear, your doubt. It's always like this when someone passes away. And I was already like, you went too fast. But all right, maybe that's their line of work there, but and then yeah. And I was like, yeah, there's always confusion when someone passes away. it's interesting that the spirits, they don't realize that they pass away, right? Because I'm a spiritist too, you know. Said, yeah, it's very ambiguous. We you're confused, and sometimes you may want to confuse me as well. And I was like, not really. That's not my intention, but again, if I died, what would be happening? Would you realize that you had died? And then he said, yeah, if I died, I wouldn't be here on my spiritual center. So his mental state, he was there on his spiritual center working, you know? And then I said, okay. So how much do you know about spiritual center? Well, I'm the president. I wouldn't be here if I didn't have full knowledge of the subject. And I'm like, okay, that's going to be a difficult one, but keeps going. So he came to me, okay, here, where you are, talking to me, okay? It's a place, it's a house of light and love. And yes, the messengers of the spiritual homeland, they come here to my spirit center and they offer their contribution to spirit seeking comfort and enlightenment, like you, my son. And then that's when I looked at my brother and said, okay, am I still alive? Or he's actually right, because he was so convincing. And then my brother said, no, unless we all die, because I still see you, saying, hey, okay, so no, let's continue. No, I'll wait to him. Okay, so in this case, let me ask you this. Which medium am I using to talk to you? So no, I don't need a medium. I talk directly to the spirits. I'm a medium. Okay. This case is hard, because I was, trying to show him that actually there's no medium there. So, okay, what's next? Said, okay, in this case, why are you still working here? Isn't it late? We're supposed to be home. Trying to show that the guy has been there for a while. So, well, here's the place that I feel safe, that I've been doing this for almost 45 years. How are you now? He asked me. He said, no, I'm great. I'm actually feeling pretty good. And then he asked me, how was your passing? And that's when I went to him, okay, let me explain something to you. Now it's my turn to talk. With all the studies that we spiritists do, it surprises me that not only you, but it happens to a lot of spiritists, that we switch roles. We go to a situation where we don't realize that we discarnated. Seriously, his name was Antenor. Seriously, Antenor. When was the last time that you went home? How long have you been on this spiritual center? When was the last time you had a meal? When was the last time that you saw your family? Don't you realize that maybe with all the experience that you had before, you're doing exactly the same thing that other spirits did when they needed your help? Silence a little bit. He said, I never imagined this conversation would be so confusing. I said, yes, because now it's your turn to rethink and look around and see that the environment is changing. So doing this, I planted in his mind the doubt, right? Because he was so certain of everything. As I planted the doubt, poof, things started changing around him, because that's what I read. That's what we learn as we study more spiritism. As the mindset changes, the environment among us changes as well. Then he was like, so the discarnated one among us is me? And I said, yeah. And he said, I'm astonished. It's amazing that we studied so much, we talk to everybody, and then when it's our turn, nothing. We go through the same thing that everybody else does. And then I said, well, it happens to everybody. Again, God is so good to us that this transition is so smooth that we don't even feel the pain. Well, you got to understand why you stayed in that mindset, but you're not there anymore, right? So yeah, this was a very enlightening meeting. He came here. Him, right? I'm a poor omnipotent being who thought I knew everything myself in the situation. It's comical to say the least. You know? I said, well, at least you're feeling well now, right? He said, yeah, I am. And he came and said, who opened the doors for you? Open for you, open for me. I said, well, now you know. That's true. They opened the door for me. Was someone that I didn't know that actually looks a lot like you. And then that kind of gave me goosebumps because my father, who already passed, I'm a spit image of my father. He didn't have long hair though, but a lot, you know. Like, oh, maybe my dad was helping there too, right? And then he said, well, I thought I was a new worker at my center. I said, well, new there. Yeah, I'm gonna try to digest those news, and I'm gonna talk more about. I'm gonna talk more with my friends, new friends here, and I guess I'm ready to go. So, well, good to know that you understood where you are and that we are good to help. So, yeah, I'll do my best to learn now. Because I knew everything in theory. Now I have to put everything in practice. And thank you for everything. So this was very interesting because that's the third time that I had someone spiritist that came to one of these meetings and didn't realize that they passed. And in this case, the person works with this. That was their line of work for 45 years. Right? So that's why sometimes I'm gonna look around and say, okay, you see me? Yeah. Because I could be one of those, at some point. That's why. Let's do a little recap here. So the 4 stories that we learned. So we had Estrella Davo first, the way she arrived on the medical treatment, and the key lesson was enduring love is a powerful connection between the roads because her mother never let her, and that's what changed her vibration. The second one was the Professor Alcides that thought that he was experiencing hallucinations, but we understand that the rich earthly beliefs can blind us for new realities. So the only truth that we know for sure is that what's going to happen if I release my glass here?
It's gonna fall.
It's going to fall, right? Nobody here, not even flat earthers or Catholic or anybody else, will say otherwise, right? Everything else, we all have a partial understanding, and people see things differently because that's the level that we are. The day that we are all evolved enough to have the same understanding about everything, that's going to be the whole truth. So everything that we are too rigid that we believe, seriously, that could be wrong. Even Kardec said, if anything that I'm telling you guys today, science proves differently, goes with science, right? So we are always evolving. And in Spiritism, Kardec didn't receive everything from the spirits. We received everything that we could learn on this level that we are now. There's still much more for us to learn. The third one was the accident victim. That was Clarissa. The initial state trapped in the moment of the accident. And then the key lesson, sudden death can cause intense and lingering disorientation. So if you're going to help these people, you have to understand how confused they are. And finally, the president of the Spirit Center Spiritus work. That his state, he was at work, helping people. At least he believed he was. Knowledge is not enough. A pure conscience is key. That's what he wasn't conscious of what was going on, right? So 4 different lives, 4 different powerful lessons that we learned here today. So what's the Spiritist central role in all of this? So if these spirits are so confused, how are they helped? So first, we do the connection with them. Second, we do the communication. Finally, through the communication, they go to the realization of what they're going on. And since then, they go guidance. Once we change their vibration, they're ready to go and then be helped by the people there. And someone may ask, okay, if Spiritism started in 1850s, how was it before that? There were no Spiritist centers, so where those confused spirits like us would go, right? God never abandoned anybody. So there were other ways to do that. And the thing is, with the advent of Spiritism, there is now this tool as well that can help. So the spirits take advantage of Spiritist Center the same way as we learn from them and we get a lot from the spirits. They also use our vibration, the level that we are, to help spirits realize that they pass away. So it's their turn now to continue on the spiritual road. So the biggest lesson that we have about this on the Spiritist book, actually on the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 6 is the advent of the Spirit of the Truth. Yes, Spiritists, love one another. That's one precept. Let's love one another. And then educate yourself is the second. You're not going to find another doctrine that you have so many books that you can spend your entire life reading and you're not going to finish all of them. Chico Xavier only, that's one author. In his life, he wrote over 460 books. And after his passing, people still finding things that he wrote and still releasing more books. So why? Isn't everything already on Kardec's codification? Yes, Kardec brought us the fundamentals of Spiritism. With all those books, you learn the actual application of all those things, how actually the life is on the other side by spirits telling us how things are. And we learn how to be helpful as well. We learn how to help incarnated spirits. We learn how to help discarnated spirits. We can be very helpful and prepare ourselves to hopefully pass this grade. And as we go back to our actual life there, we're going to get a little bit better than when we started here. Okay. So with this, I thank everybody. That's the end of this talk. And then I'm going to be open for any questions, any comments that anyone may have. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me stop recording here.